tutorial is on Htaccess. By definition, it is nothing but a server configuration file used on Apache Web Server. This file is loaded via Apache Web Server. It can be used to alter or override the configuration of the Apache Web Server to enable or disable additional functionality and the features that Apache Web Server software does. So this is a pretty much straightforward definition. In order to understand Htaccess file, I'll be showing you with a real life example and also let you know how to write Htaccess file. Okay, so that it would be easy for you to understand, and you can also after this video tutorial you can use into your project as well. Okay, so just to give you a background of Htaccess. Htaccess, from the definition you understand that it is a server configuration file. Okay, and this file is basically used to override the default server settings. Today, for example, you purchase one server which is a shared one, and if you need to update some server configuration files, you cannot go inside the central Apache Web Server settings to change that, because first of all, in a shared server you will not be allowed to make any change, and it is also not recommended to make change in central repository Apache server settings. There is certain reasons on that. For example, if you make any change directly into Apache Web Server settings, then any other instances related to your web applications will got also affected. Okay, and normally in shared server, in under one Apache server settings, there might be a lot of number of applications running, and you may not necessary to make changes across all the instances, and in that case you need to use this Htaccess file. So you just need to write an Htaccess file, open an editor and save that with .htaccess extension, and if you put inside any directory, all files under the directory will get affected or influenced by that Htaccess file. So I hope this is clear how does this Htaccess is necessary to use in any web applications. This is mostly used in Apache Web Server based server, where PHP and other some scripting languages is used, and apart from server settings changes or enabling or disabling or overriding certain settings, there are some other features which Htaccess supports. It also helps to enhances your security features of any web application. After a short while, I will let you know in real life example so that it would be very clear for you. Okay. So for now, let me tell you some features in short, and after this I will go into the real life example. Okay. So the features are: it enables a redirect functionality. It allows a URL to be password protected, deny web visitors as per IP address, override many features of central Apache Web Server settings, enable SSL, directory index uses. It also used for hotlink prevention, blocking bad bots, disable directory listing, force a script to display source code, error document creation to create 301 redirect, and also as per file matching, it can also set the headers. The next is also as per different file match, it can also set your header robot.tag tag, which is used for ACO. You can also set the permission for certain directories or files. then you can remove the extension from the URL. So these are pretty much the summary of features of Htaccess. Apparently it seems a little bit complex, but when I'll go into the example, it will be very crystal clear for you. Okay. Now let me show you how to use and write htacess file. Here you can see I have created few couple of HTML files. You can see test HTML, index HTML, redirect underscore one HTML, new file dot HTML. Okay, and this is my htacess file. So I have created one folder called htacess, and under that I have put this htacess file. And all these files are actually under the htacess directory, so that all these files will be impacted or influenced by the syntax or rules written in htacess file. So in order to start with htacess file, you need to start with if modules tag, and if you are opening this tag, you need to close this as well. If you go at the end of this script, you can see the if module is closed, and this attribute is required to write, because whenever you will write this, the Apache web server will be loaded and can check based on this attribute and start to rewrite. And you also need to write this syntax, rewrite engine on. Okay, so this is the basic syntax which you need to write every time you write any htacess file. Now I have written few rules here which I'll explain you. First is directory index. Okay, so by directory index it refers that whenever your directory is being executed first time, which file it will be called first. So it is put in some orders. Here you can see some files are written: index.html, index.html. By default, in the Apache server, the directory index is pointing to index.html. Okay, but if you want to change the directory index to any another file, you can do that as well from here. And first it will look into here the first entry. If it doesn't get, or if it doesn't exist, then it will go into the second entry, which is index.html. Now you can see I have written a file called index.html from before. Let me write something in order to make you feel that it is working. Okay, and I am saving it here. Now I am going to the browser to refresh this. So you can see it is written, it is working here. So this is my local host. I'm showing this tutorial on my local host. Okay, and I have created this URL using virtual hosting. I'm not going into that detail how to create the virtual hosting and which file. It is simply for now you assume that it's a URL. It's pointing to a certain directory, and this URL mapping is being written in some file. Okay, and this file is actually, this URL now is pointing to my htaccess folder. Okay, now I want to make change to this default index directory from index.html to any other file. Okay, let me go back to my editor and change this to test.html. So the first entry I'm writing is test.html. Okay, and in the test.html it is written here. Okay, now I have made some changes in test.html so that you will feel that something is happening. So you can see it is written here, it is reflecting here. Right now this local URL is earlier pointing to index.html. Right now this URL is pointing to another default file, which is test.html. So friends, come to the next syntax. The next syntax is to redirect non-HTTP to HTTPS URL. So this is very necessary, especially when you consider SEO for your website. SEO, as you know, it's a search engine optimization. So, in order to improve your search engine optimization or rank of your site, you might need to add this rule. Okay, if you add this rule, then there would be no duplicate contents to be accessed or traversed by the different Google search engines like Google or Bing. What happens is that if you type your URL, and since the HTTP and non-HTTP is the both kind of URL exist, and as a result of that, there would be the duplicate contents shown as per the report in SEO. So in order to avoid this, you can use this. You can also use a www. It is the same as HTTP. You may need to add a www in front of your domain name. For example, it is used here test.com. So you may need to use www.test.com. Okay, so still you can avoid if you use the redirect from www, from non www to www. Okay, so let me just clarify how this syntax is written. There are three lines which you can see here. Two lines are rewrite condition and the third one is rewrite rule. So here this third condition or the line will be executed provided this first two lines satisfied. Okay, so the first rewrite condition is HTTP host is referring to the domain name, which is test.com. Then there are several regular expressions are being used here. So if you want to expertise on regular expression, you may like to go into tutorials on regex. And but in order to write htaccess, you don't need to be expert on regular expression. Okay, so let me just try to explain a little bit on a regular expression. This syntax is or mark is the starting of any string, and then in order to escape the dot operator, you need to give this a slash. Okay, and at the end you can see it is a dollar operator or sign is used which indicates the end of your string. And after that you can see there is another syntax called nc. It suggests it is case insensitive. Okay, now second condition, in the second line you can see https on and off. So if this two conditions are made, then this third line will be triggered. Okay, so if it finds your domain name, then if it finds that https is not enabled, then your site will be redirected to https url. Okay, so here you can see the expected https redirect or http host, and request uri is basically your query string or anything else which is appended at the end of your url. Now here and there is something written here, R stands for redirect, which should be permanent redirect. There are a lot of response code, and among them 301 is there. You should not use 302. 302 means it is a temporary redirect, but if you want to have a redirect, always it should be 301, and it is good for SEO as well. And L stands for last rule. Okay, now let's go to the next rule. It is a error document or a 404 page construction. So if some users is navigating into your site, and if they do not find any valid strings or any valid URL, they should be redirected to proper 404 page. For example, if I open this browser and let me show you typing something invalid, so it is redirecting to page not found page. Okay, so friends, from here you can understand the necessity of 40 page where user will be redirected if they do not find with the valid URL. So the next rule is a redirect again. So this redirect is from any URL alias to any expected in a domain. Okay, so here you can see I have written this redirect. Again, there's two lines are written for redirect condition, and if these are satisfied, then the third line will be triggered. Okay, now let me show you with an example here. Localhost.mine, it's my domain name in the local system. Okay, and it is pointing to the directory called htaccess, which I have explained before. Now update.html is any file under this directory. So update.html, let me show you that I have created this before, and if I submit this URL in the browser, it will redirect to this expected URL yahoo.com. So let me show you that. So if I write update.html, then see it is redirected to yahoo.com URL. So let me show you by changing this file name. For example, I'm writing it update now. Okay, and I want to redirect to any site flipkart.com. So I haven't created this file yet, so let me create update.html. Okay, now I'm saving it. Okay, so I have created this file, so let me show you that first. So if I execute this file in my browser, you can see this file is executed, update new HTML here. Okay, now I want to redirect this file to any particular site or any other page. Okay, so let me open the htacess file here and let me write the name. Now if I submit this in my browser, then it will redirect to flipkart.com. So this is also pretty much straightforward and very essential redirect rule which you can use whenever needed into your project. So here you can see the syntax is same. HTTP host refers to your domain name. A request URI is basically the request URL which I have used, update underscore next dot html. Okay, and redirect rule which is being triggered here. Dot star suggest more than one. So it is not, it doesn't refer a single one, it refers more than one characters. And as I said, this is the starting of a string and dollar is the end of a string. Okay, R is refers to permanently redirect. Okay, these are the last rules. These are equally important if you want to add certain rules to any particular redirect. So let me go to the next rule. This is file match. Okay, so let me show you how we can set the robot meta tags for .txt file. I have created one txt file from before, which is read.txt. Okay, and for this extension I want to enable x robot meta tag as no index. So in order to see the header response, whether it is set or not, you need to go into the Firebug, inspect this element, go into the network tab, refresh this again, and after this you can select the URL, and in the response headers you can see this meta tag is being set no index. So this way you can set the meta tag based on file extension. You can set for image, or you can set the JavaScript, you can set the no index for several other file types. So this is pretty much. So this particular syntax file match is very important. For any file extension, you can set the header response and do many other settings Okay, and also there is another syntax called directory match, but this directory match is not allowed to write in htaccess. You can only set the directory match inside the apache httpd configuration file. Okay, but let's utilize this file match at least. So I will show you how to set the header response for a .txt file here. So I have created one read.txt file from before, and let me open this file. I have opened this file from before, and if I click on this file and if I see the header response, I can see the xrobot tag has been set to no index. Okay, so from here, from the Firebug inspect element, you need to come into the network tab, and where you can see the header response results. Okay. Now let me give you a small background of what is no index. So as per ACO, there are several URLs which are not expected to display in search results. For example, somebody types any keywords and into your site, then they found out with CSS or JavaScript file, and if those unnecessary files are displayed in search results, then usually if the user clicks on that, they would not find any expected behavior of the site, and as a result there is a possibility that user will go out of your site. So this kind of JavaScript and CSS file needs to be no indexed through the htaccess file. There is another way, which is robot.txt file. From there you can disallow to access different search engine or crawlers, but the problem is that as per the recent trend, it is recommended to put the no index through the htaccess only, and if you put the disallow through the robot.txt, the search engine cannot render, cannot access your site properly, because this CSS and JavaScript file is disallowed through the robot.txt file. And if you put this through this htaccess file, the different search engine or crawlers still can render your website properly, can read the contents, and also additionally it will not index your site so that it would not show display into the search results. So I have shown here using the .txt extension, but if you put it here with the different file extensions, you can use here. And also you can use the pipe operator like this in the second line, which you can see for multiple extensions. Okay, so if the similar rules, if you want to write for multiple file extensions, you just need to add pipe operator here. That means you are going to append with the or operator. Okay, so this is pretty much the set of rules which are very important and essential in our day-to-day life. Okay, there is one more rewrite rule which is set as not permissible. So if I set this read.txt file, and let me show you what happen if I execute this. It will show access forbidden. So this way you can also restrict certain file types to not to be accessed by the end user accessing from the browser URL. So this is also very essential for a website building, so where this kind of things are required. So I hope friends, you have enjoyed this tutorial. There are a lot of other htaccess rules which you can test into your local system and see the results. Okay, and since this is a local system, I could see the minimal number of rules here, but for live projects you can set other rules to test and use into your sites. Okay, thank you.